Hello, and welcome back to another episode of White Album 2. We are currently playing through CODA. And we're getting a wonderful phone call.
はい、北原です。はい。はい。いえ、とんでもない。ご無沙汰してます。陽子さん。
Yoko! What a call to get in the middle of the night.
Miyoko さん、怒ってるだろうな。
You couldn't imagine how stressful it must be to be Miyoko-san. Having to deal with Kazusa and Yoko must be a nightmare.
そりゃ当たり前だろ。
The next morning. Once I told Kazusa that I had gone out of my way to contact her office, she started complaining a lot as expected. Once I finally told her that it's about time she dropped by the office, she started grumbling, which made me an hour late for work.
なあ、なんて言い訳すればいいと思う？
まあ正直に話すしかないだろうな。誠意を見せれば向こうだって。
男に捨てられたショックで何も手につかなかったって？
おい。
Though I'm actually still in the middle of being late for work right now.
お前が正直に話せって言うからだ。それが私の真実なんだから。
そこまでぶっちゃける必要ないだろう。だいたいお前、最初は熱出してたんだから、素直に病気で寝込んでたって言えば。
You don't have to be that honest, and then you can just honestly tell them in the same sentence is like a big oxymoron. You can't.
熱出したのも怪我したのも寝込んだのも、全部お前がコンサートに来なかったから。
ああ、わかったわかった。俺が全部悪うございました。
あ、いた。こら、ちゃんとまっすぐ通せよ。お前、へったくそだな。
スタイリストと比べられても困る。
Kazusa's beautiful long hair slips through my brush. Just by lifting a single strand of hair, I can see the sunlight reflected in it, and like water, it flows smoothly down my palm. A work of art whose peculiarity is that it has no peculiarity. If someone asked me what the greatest accomplishment of the genius pianist Tomayoko is, I'd undoubtedly pick this hair and the woman it's attached to.
だいたい顔出したって何も話すことなんかない。
追加公演どうすんだよ。
どうしようかな。何しろ今は弾けるイメージが全く浮かばないからな。
プロの自覚あるのかよ、お前。
Not really. I wonder what her fans would think if they heard her say that. This fickle genius whose ability and determination are completely disproportionate. I can't feel anything but the deepest sympathy toward the people who found themselves charmed by this irresponsible pianist. That includes me. He pities himself.
去年のクリスマスまではあったよ。私にはもうピアノしかないって、そう自分に言い聞かせてた。
And this is where the problem lies. Having more, I wouldn't say support pillars, because Haruki's kind of a special case. Sometimes he's a detriment pillar. But if you have more friends, or if you have more family, or if you're dating, it shouldn't take away from your other things that you have to do. You have to find that balance. And for Kazusa to suddenly be like, you're in my life now, so I'm no longer a professional piano player, like that's super unhealthy.
だからこうしてピアノで金取れるようになったんだ。毎日10時間、全然サボってなかった。歯を食いしばって頑張ってたんだよ。
ごめん。
そこじゃない。 お前が謝るのはこの次のセリフの後だ。春樹のせいで全部吹き飛んだ。
In other words, this person isn't the young and energetic pianist Toma Kazusa. She's the delinquent girl in Class 3A of Hojo High, for whom being late and sleeping in class is something natural. A girl 5 years behind the times, still struggling against society. I couldn't see through her exterior. I simply saw her as my crush. I never knew that the girl of back then was so fixated on me.
今の私にはもう日本で弾く理由がない。今さら追加公演なんて言われてもピンとこないよ。
なんでそんなこと言うんだよ。本心じゃないくせに。無理に投げやりになるなよ。
春樹には関係ないだろ。私のことなんか何も関係ないだろ。
何度言わせるんだ。ピアノと俺を天秤にかけるな。あまりにも釣り合わなすぎだろ。
お前こそ何度言わせるんだ。それを判断するのは私だ。
カズサ。
お前の価値をお前ごときが決めていいわけないだろ。私を受け入れられないんなら黙ってろ。
視野狭すぎるだろ。世界小さすぎるだろ。
こんな何にも興味を持たない人間のピアノをさ、未だにありがたがっている人たちがいる。芸術ってバカみたいだな。みんな目を覚ましてくれよ。私なんてこんなヘボなんだぞ。見に来る価値なんかないんだぞ。
Seriously? What an immature person. 5 years have passed, and she has entered adulthood. Yet, for some reason, she has only become more and more like an unmanageable child. How did this immature person ever manage to express herself so well? It really is a mockery of art. And here we are, incognito in the streets of the city.
あとは一人で行けるな。
Tomayoko Office, PLC, is around a 10-minute walk from Nishi Onjuku Station. It's located on the 3rd floor of a rather small building. The office is a bit underwhelming considering who it belongs to, but since their actual base of operations is overseas, this shouldn't be much of a hindrance. Apparently Kudo-san is the only employee working there on a regular basis, routinely managing any domestic affairs. In other words, her job left her with a lot of free time until last year. However, these past few months, I'm sure she's been overwhelmingly busy. In fact, she even picked up the phone in seconds when I called her in the middle of the night.
カズサ。
And the moment we reached that building, Kazusa's feet became glued to the ground for a good 5 minutes. She was a bit more confident about this when she was first called to the faculty room.
やっぱり中まで着きそうか。
行くよ。一人で叱られてくる。
Aww.
そっか。
もしかしたらクビかもしれない。でもって損害賠償の裁判を起こされて。
そんなわけないから。とにかくドアを開けたらすぐに頭下げろ。で、大きな声で謝れ。
When Kazusa turned on her phone for the first time in days this morning, the amount of missed calls from her office exceeded 3 digits. Whew, over 100 calls in 3 days. In the end, that bombardment of missed calls was the decisive blow that made Kazusa come here. Even now, that very bombardment of missed calls is what's making Kazusa unable to move forward.
なあ、春樹。 もし私がクビになったらさ、私の居場所がどこにもなくなったらさ。
今日さ、ちょっと遅くなる。夕方から人に会う約束してるんだ。帰り何時になるかわからない。
そうかよ。
A very suspicious way to word that one. Her bitter reply is probably not because of me coming home late, but because I interrupted what she was about to say. She was able to grasp the fact that I didn't want to listen to the rest of what she had to say, and that I consequently ran away from those words.
それでさ、晩飯なんだけど。
刹那だろ、どうせ。
それは
週末に恋人に会うのは当たり前だろ。何隠そうとしてんだよ、バカバカし。
Kazusa's anger seems to run pretty deep. She's not only sulking, but it's even firing back at me with good precision.
必ず日が変わる前には帰る。ちゃんと飯作るからおとなしく待っててくれ。
いいよ別に、泊まってきてもさ。なんなら私が部屋開けようか。
ちゃんと帰るって。
たまには一人の夜があってもいいよ。お前がいなければ思う存分泣けるから。
Way to guilt trip a guy.
だからそういうこと言うなって言ってんだよ。
And like that, her attack against me ends up dealing twice the damage to herself. I bear witness to a spectacular self-destruction. This is precisely why I can't leave her by herself.
必ず今日中に帰る。何があろうと絶対に電話する。だから待ってろ。
春樹。
それじゃしっかり謝るんだぞ。あと追加公演のことは態度を保留していい。また今晩にでもゆっくり考えよう。じゃあな、また夜に。
Good luck. When she took a step back, and even when she turned around, Kazusa's uneasy gaze did not look away from me. In truth, I really do want to go with her. I'm so worried that I can't bring myself to take my eyes off her. But even so, I have to do it today. It's for Kazusa's sake as well.
刹那だろ、どうせ。
The reason I was at a loss for words wasn't because she was right on the mark. It was actually the opposite. I was feeling relieved that Kazusa hadn't realized I was meeting up with her.
おはようございます。北原です。
So suspicious. I can't carry Kazusa's burden alone anymore. The idea that I should carry it was mistaken in the first place. Because I rejected Kazusa. I'm the one who hurt her more than anyone in the world. I'm the worst offender in the world.
あ、はい。カズサなら今事務所に入っていきました。それで俺はどちらに伺えばいいんですか、陽子さん。
That's why I need to rely on the person Kazusa needs more than anyone.
末継ぐ？なんだ、近所まで来てるんですか。はい。はい。
The person who has watched over her for the past 5 years, and by extension also the past 20 years. The person who understands her the most. Okay, well, I would argue there was a few years in there she was definitely missing.
もう一度言ってください。
The only person in the world right now who can support her moving forward?
どこですって。よ。
Yo. Our first meeting after a dozen or so hours happened in front of Minami Suetsugu Station. 5 minutes away from our apartments.
なんでお前が先にいるんだ？今日は何時になるかわからないって。
だってもう10時だ。
Most likely, after seeing me wave to her with a tired expression on my face, Kazusa accepted it with a bit of astonishment.
何時から待ってたんだ？
さっき着いたばかりだよ。
本当に？
嘘つく理由も待ってる理由もないだろ。
You have a million reasons, self-created reasons to lie to her, and a lot to wait for her too. What an outright lie. I'm sure Kazusa would see through me straight away if she touched my ice-cold hands. After all, I came to this place a mere 2 hours ago. What a waste of time. The characters in White Album 2 never sleep, but they have no problem just standing around doing nothing for hours. I first returned to my apartment, and after ascertaining that Kazusa wasn't home yet, I turned back and came straight here.
じゃあ帰ろうか。腹減っただろ。
まあな。お前に絶対外で食べるなって命令されたから。きっとものすごいごちそうが待ってるんだろうな。
簡単なものでいいよな。空腹が最高のスパイスだよな。
All that, so I could spend 5 minutes longer with Kazusa. That really is just a little bit hyper-obsessed. Just a bit. Standing outside in the cold for 2 hours to have 5 minutes to walk home together, it's a little excessive.
それじゃあ
Unless they planned to meet up, I guess, but even then, go to a cafe or something.
ああ、決めた。っていうか、最初から決めてたんだけどな。
そっか。そっか。
Apparently, Kazusa bowed her head and apologized the moment she opened the door, just like I told her to. After that, Kazusa's worry was proven wrong, and my prediction was proven right. Not only did she not get fired, but Kudo-san was so worried that she cried, which made Kazusa feel more guilty about her than me. After that, they talked about all sorts of things for hours. She made decisions about her future with her own will. She talked about how she'll resume practice immediately after her injury heals, and that the additional concert will proceed as planned.
きっとひどいことになると思う。練習不足だし、モチベーション最悪だし。
それは。
From Kazusa's perspective, and from the perspective of someone looking at this objectively, that is all my fault, as a matter of fact. Because a certain person said the exact same thing, setting aside whether they were being objective or not.
けど、それが今の私の本当の実力だ。ちゃんと受け止めるよ。
And this is where Kazusa slowly becomes strong. At least for right now, this is a really, really good and healthy decision for her. She's making her decision, she's going to act on it, and she's planning her own life without Haruki. That is so important.
Kazusa.
Until yesterday? No. Whenever we two were alone, Kazusa kept pouring out every emotion in her heart. When she was thrown out of the narrow world where only she and I exist, she did her best, and has splendidly managed to make herself appear as someone grand.
正直、まだ気持ちは全然整理できてない。
Seeing Kazusa like that made a thought flash across my mind. Perhaps having me around isn't actually the best thing for Kazusa. Bingo, we finally have a winner. Why did it take you so long to realize this?
けどやっぱり、今の私は、周囲の人たちに、あまりにも迷惑をかけすぎてる。
Because it's not inherently the fact that Haruki's there. It's the fact that Haruki is there, and he's engaged, and he can't make a decision. So she's stuck in this in-between, and it's stressing her out, it's stressing him out, obviously ruining the relationship between Haruki and Setsuna. That's where the problem lies. Perhaps all of my actions are motivated by self-satisfaction. Perhaps Kazusa really is fine on her own now.
美代子さん、コンサート関係のスタッフ。私で稼ごうとする酔狂なスポンサー。もっと酔狂な私のピアノを聴きに来る人たち。
Perhaps the feeling of loneliness welling up in my heart is the primary and only reason I can't let go of Kazusa.
それから刹那。
That's a big one. Perhaps I'm doing the wrong thing. Perhaps I'm only making Kazusa suffer for nothing in the mere pursuit of finding peace in my heart. However,
母さんと春樹には申し訳ないなんて思ってないぞ。だっておあいこだからな。
陽子さんは
今だってのんきに温泉行ってるんだぞ。相変わらず娘のことほったらかしてさ。
or is she? Most likely, the reason Kazusa interrupted me is because she thought I was about to defend Yoko-san.
ま、いいけどさ。あの人には倍にして返してもらう。これからも散々迷惑かけてやるんだ。
She's not wrong, in a sense, but right now it's impossible for Kazusa to perceive my intention 100%.
なあ、カズサ。
なんだよ。
お前が母親を愛してるのは分かってるけどさ、それでも陽子さんだけに負担をかけるのは
仕方ないだろ。今までの私の世界半分滅んだんだから。
And slowly but surely, hopefully she would make friends, she would meet new people, she would get into her job. She needs more of those support pillars in her life.
だからさ、いい加減もっと視野を広げてさ。
And right now, it's impossible for me to convey my intention to Kazusa 100%.
陽子さんだけじゃなく、スタッフや友達や、それにファンだって、お前のこと好きな人たち、たくさんいるんだからさ。
That's why, right now, I can't utter anything but laughable truisms.
向こうが私に期待するのは勝手だけどさ、別に私が期待することは何もないよ。
そんな寂しいこと言わないでさ。工藤さんなんかいい人じゃん。それに柴田さん夫婦だって。
So what? Her manager, kind of, and her babysitter. Those aren't like the best two. I mean, they're great, don't get me wrong, but she needs to make her own world, her own group, you know?
美代子さんも柴田さんも好きだけど、コンサートが終わったらもう二度と会うことはないから。
ならさ、ウィーンにだってお前のことを好きでいる人は。
私に指図するな。私を日本にいられなくしたやつが。
He didn't. He really didn't. Maybe you don't want to live in the same city. That makes sense. Japan is bigger than one city. It just drives me crazy when they're like, we can't be in the same country. Yes, you can. You would never run into each other. Move to Hokkaido. Move anywhere else. Move to Okinawa. Like, wherever. So dumb. Not only is my truism laughable, but it also only manages to hurt Kazusa.
お前なんかに何がわかる。私と東間陽子は私がこの世に生まれる前からつながってるんだ。
Despite that, Kazusa persists.
私の進むべき道は東間陽子が示してくれる。子供の頃からずっとそうやってきたんだ。
Even in a situation where she would have broken down crying normally, she glares at me intently from the side and rejects my reasoning with a harsh tone.
確かに一時期お互いがお互いを見失ったこともあったけど、それだって相手を思った末のすれ違いだった。
Being too kind, she abandoned you. Don't forget that.
そう教えてくれたのはお前だったよな。
Of course it was. Even when she rejects my words, she also affirms them. Even when she acts strong, she also relies on me. And even though I can't be allowed to feel happy about that tendency of Kazusa, I can't stop those feelings from welling up in my chest.
だから私はこれからもあの人と歩いてく。そしていつか超えてやる。だって私にとって當真陽子は目標で先生でライバルで全てなんだから。
I can still remember the day I first heard her say that. Right before the school festival in the Toma Residence's basement studio. Kazusa became delirious with fever, and I seem to remember her telling me things she would never have said normally.
昔に戻っただけだよ。ただそれだけだ。
And it's been 5 years since then.
だからさ。
And as expected, the only person Kazusa can open her heart to right now is me.
今度こそさ。絶対お前の前から消えてやるよ。
Except the more times she says this, the less believable it ends up becoming.
カズサ。
Kazusa did her best. She endured as much as she could. And now that she has done her utmost effort,
もうここに至って仕方ないんだ。
what am I supposed to do?
お前につけられた傷をお前に治療してもらったって治るわけないんだ。
Even if she manages to hide it until the concert, what about after the concert?
それどころか次から次へと新しい傷ができるだけだ。お前に優しくされるたびに増えていくんだ。
That's the thing. Sometimes you just need to break off friendships or relationships for your own good. You can't always remain friends with everybody, especially if it's bad for your mental health, which it clearly is. Can I really set this woman aside?
だからもうさっさと日本公演を終わらせてウィーンに帰るんだ。
Can I let her go? Can I leave her alone?
北原病院から退院するんだ。自宅療養でゆっくり時間をかけて治すんだ。
It's a very cheesy line, but it is true. I
お前みたいな悪い男に惑わされることのないいつも通りの平和な生活に戻るんだ。
カズサ。
春樹。
Can I abandon this woman?
頑張れ。頑張れ。カズサ。頑張れ。
やめてくれよ。こんなことされると後が辛いよ。
今度こそリベンジだ。お前の凄さを日本中に見せつけてやれ。
きついよこんなの。生殺しだよ。また傷が増えてくよ。
友達を励まして何が悪い。何が悪いって言うんだよ。
だって私、全然諦められてないんだぞ。
I put my arm around Kazusa's shoulders.
今は普段通りに振る舞えてるけど、一人になると、泣けてくるんだぞ。
Look, the best case scenario if you ask someone out and they end up rejecting you for whatever reason is that you can remain friends, right? Sometimes that just doesn't work. Sometimes you're just so, in Kazusa's case, so hyper obsessed you just cannot remain friends. In Haruki's case as well, kind of. So, you don't have to be friends. Having her body forcefully pulled onto my chest, Kazusa twists around in resistance. But the force she puts into that resistance isn't her whole strength. Kazusa's indecision and her slight happiness is conveyed to me. That's why I don't falter at the sound of Kazusa crying and gradually put more strength into my arm.
それに、誰かに見られたらどうすんだよ。
別にどうもしない。
刹那に見られたらどうすんだよ。
どうもしないって言ってるだろ。こんなの隠す気もない。
Oi.
Haruki.
The thing Kazusa is worried about is completely irrelevant to me right now. Because we're outside. It's precisely because there's a chance someone might see us that I can touch Kazusa like this. If we returned to my apartment with just the two of us, if I knew that no one could question my actions, I wouldn't have been able to stop myself.
お前は本当にひどいやつだ。
かもな。
やっぱダメだ。
Kazusa's resistance melts away.
振られたのに、脈はないって思い知らされたのに。
The force within her that tried to get away from me flips around and is instead used to press her body against my chest.
なのに、こうしてお前に抱きしめられると、嬉しい気持ちを抑えられなくなる。
You shouldn't be doing this. You know how bad she wants it. And you know how bad she's trying to distance herself from you, and yet he insists on doing it. The happiness she concealed inside bursts open.
お前に甘えて、強がって、舞い上がって、こんなにも痛い女になってしまう。
いいよ。今だけは。
Oi. Okay. I'm so annoyed. This is so frustrating. So on that note, I think we'll stop here for today. So, thanks so much for being here with me on this episode of CODA, and I'll be back with the next one shortly. Until then, hope you take care. See you.